This is what everyone is building right now in AI. And honestly, a lot of these AI startups, they are not going to make it past the next 18 months. So the real question is, where is the actual money being made? And more importantly, what does that mean for you if you're building a startup right now? Let me walk you through what's really going on, what the smart founders are quietly doing differently. The AI bubble nobody wants to talk about. Here's something that should make most founders a little uncomfortable. The S&P 500, basically one of the biggest signals of how the market is doing, a huge chunk of its gain this year came from just a handful of AI heavy companies. Not hundreds, not even dozens, just a few companies carrying everything. And when you look closer, it gets even more interesting. The biggest players, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Microsoft, they're all investing in each other, selling to each other, and counting each other as customers. Money is just moving in circles. So yeah, that is good argument that this is bubble. But here's the part that actually matters for you. This isn't like the dot-com era. AI is already inside the economy. It is already changing how work gets done and is already sitting in your AWS bill. And that changes how you need to think about it. What this means for your startup mind. Here's the part nobody is really saying out loud. It isn't just a product opportunity. It is a cost problem and it is quietly growing in the background. Think about a typical early stage AI startup. You could easily be spending 500K a month. A big part of that, GPUs, the computing power your models. If you raise $10 million, that gives you what about 20 months? That's it. And during those 20 months, you're growing users, but each user is actually costing you money. This isn't theoretical. It is already happening, especially in spaces like digital health. Every new AI feature you ship, chatbots, diagnostics, automation, adds to your cloud bill. And it doesn't stay flat, it compounds. Now here's why most teams ignore it. It is a cognitive bias called temporal discounting. We naturally prioritize what ships next sprint over what saves money over the next year. So the feature gets shipped. The cost slowly builds and nobody questions it until suddenly the runway becomes a problem where the real money is actually made. To really understand this, you have to look at how AI actually makes money. Let's break it down. First, infrastructure. AI runs on the cloud, and the cloud runs on electricity. Data centers are going to consume insane amounts of energy over the next decades, which means your AWS bill. That is your slice of that cost, and most startups are overpaying simply because they never revisited the defaults they set early on. That's anchoring bias. Next, foundation models, OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, this is where the heavy lifting actually happens. You're probably not competing here, but every time you call an API, you're paying. Every token costs money. And most startups don't actually know what their model usage is costing them relative to everything else. That's where costs quietly pile up. Then the application layer. That is where most founders are building. And yeah, it is easier than ever. You can spin up something impressive in a weekend with tools like Cursor or Replit. It feels amazing, but then reality kicks in. Things breaks. Customers expect reliability, you need payments, databases, and integrations. And underneath all of that, your cloud costs keep growing, not because you made bad decisions, but because you made fast decisions and never came back to optimize them. What worked for 100 users become expensive at 10,000. And then the part most people miss. The real durable money. It isn't the boring stuff. Infrastructure, tooling, systems, companies like Stripe, Datadog, MongoDB, they are not flashy, but they are worth billions. Everything depends on them. For your startup, this translates to one thing. Your advantage isn't your AI feature. It is your unit economics. Cost per user, cost per API call, cost per workflow. The founders who understand this early buy themselves time. Everyone else burns through it. What smart founders are doing right now, where this AI wave keeps growing or crashes. The smart founders are already adjusting. First, they use AI to improve margins, not just build features. The winners aren't necessarily building the coolest AI products. They are using AI to reduce costs inside their business, automating support, improving operations, cutting manual work. That's where the real leverage is. Second, they build the financial awareness into team. Right now, most teams are optimized for shipping fast, great user experience, more feature, but almost nobody is talking. Is this worth what it costs us to run? That question alone can change everything. Because a startup doesn't die from lack of features, it dies from running out of money. Third, they don't wait for the bill to hurt. By the time your cloud bill feels painful, the habits that created it already bagged it to your team. The companies that survived, they used their cost before it became a problem. The one thing to take away, the AI bubble might burst or it might keep going, but your costs, they are compounding right now, either way. And the people closest to the spend, your engineers, your data team, they're usually not trained to even see it. So this isn't really a cloud cost issue. It is a financial awareness issue. And that is what I focus on. Breaking this down simply, consistently. So people building inside startups actually understand where their company's money is going before it becomes a crisis. If this was useful, follow along. And if you want to go deeper, subscribe. Because next, I want to show you what changes when you stop comparing your bill to last month and start comparing it to what your business actually needs. See you there.